What's up, everybody? How's it going? And welcome to my wheel side chat. It's weird, I don't really normally shoot videos in this format, so I'm just totally off guard right now. But I did want to make a candid video, so here you are. I'm going to tell you why the EPA has all of us car guys completely wrong. So if you're new to us, if you're new to this channel, if you're not even familiar with who I am, my name is Dick Lanza. This is Car Rant. Behind me is the wheel that I waited 5 years to build, and we like to do a lot of things relating to cars, whether that be reviews, checking out people's rides, building our own rides, or like what we're doing today, discussing automotive related topics. If that sounds anything interesting at all to you, please consider subbing because, well, we have a lot to talk about, especially as we're going into the wintertime. To the uninformed man, the EPA is simply a villain. They would think that all the EPA wants to do is ruin everything because they are so concerned about keeping the planet green that they don't care about everyone else's actual green, if you know what I'm saying. The truth of the matter is they were created to help protect the planet. And in the beginning, while not a lot of people were fans of it, you have to admit that the cars of yesteryear were, well, highly inefficient. They needed a technological boost in order to make them better and more efficient and more powerful in smaller and smaller displacements. And there was really no catalyst to push that forward aside from the oil crisis of the 70s. Well, with the introduction of the EPA, that really changed because now manufacturers need to do more with less and make them more efficient and more clean. And thus we have some of the best vehicles we've ever seen, both in terms of automotive prowess and what they're capable of, given that because of things that the EPA started, we now have things as epic as the GR Corolla making 300 horsepower on 3 cylinders. Now, does that mean that I think these technological advancements were not possible without the EPA? No, I think that eventually we would have got there, but these companies needed a catalyst to really force the issue to change. And with the oil crisis being the beginning stages of that, the need for cleaner burning gas engines really helped propel us to where we're at now. So what does that mean for us here in this moment? As of right now, the EPA has gone from being a watchful eye to an absolute attack dog of the environmentalist movement. The fact of the matter is that none of us really hate the EPA. After all, we all want to see our planet remain blue and green and be that lovely little dot full of life in the universe. And that's not really in contention. That's a given fact. No one wants to see the planet dead. The difference is we also still want to be able to go fast, modify our vehicles, and continue to do other things outside of just go to work, eat, and sleep. At the end of it all car enthusiasts are hobbyists. We all have stuff that we're a fan of. Ours just happens to be made out of machines and full of oil and grease and, yeah, makes fun noises. So with that very nuanced revelation, what does that mean for us car guys? I mean, we don't want to see the planet dead, yet the EPA is over here trying to shut our cars down. The sad truth is that the EPA really just wants to get rid of the internal combustion engine, and that's without question. There's a reason why the current leadership at the EPA is pushing electric vehicles so hard. They want to see us move to an electrified society, which honestly leads to a whole slew of other controversial topics such as, government enslavement. But we're not here to talk about those things because this is not a conspiracy channel. This is a car channel. And with this massive push towards heavily electrified vehicles, it means that now we're seeing more and more population bases trying to adopt this technology and thus abandoning their gas cars, which is ultimately what the EPA really wants. They don't want pollutants in the air. The problem is that in conjunction with this, they are trying to basically make it so we cannot modify our cars at all to keep them alive. If you're on this channel and you own an American vehicle, specifically something of the LS variety, you're not going to be able to keep that LS alive because we all know how bad those ECUs are, and they want to make it so you cannot buy an aftermarket ECU. In fact, just recently, eBay was forced by the EPA to no longer allow sellers to sell items with the tagline of "for off-road use only." If you're not familiar, that little line is actually what allowed us to buy and sell so many automotive modifications over the last, maybe 10, 15 years. because it allows them to sell it with the intent and purpose of selling it to someone who's going to use it on a racetrack, not on the road. Problem is more and more vehicles break down and manufacturers move away from them. They stop making parts for them, and thus these aftermarket modifications become a necessity. Case in point with the LS, a lot of times when those ECUs get fried, you would turn to something like a Haltech or an AEM or something of that variety to try to fix your cranium. The EPA has their way. That's not going to be possible anymore. And of course, if you're a Subaru enthusiast, you definitely felt this last year as thousands of people had to turn in their Cobb access ports because they were no longer able to tune above a certain point. They're physically locked out by the software. No more could you run any of their bench tunes. You had to go to a dyno jet and get a proper tune done. It also means that me getting an Evo 8 years ago was the better decision because, well, I could actually tune on a factory ECU. Very rare thing, I know, but very, very helpful. The problem is that things like these ECUs are listed as defeat devices by the EPA, meaning things that are able to skirt the Clean Air Act entirely. That includes things such as catback exhaust, diverter valves, anything relating to the actual exhaust of the car, as well as the actual internal performance of the car. No, they're not going after things like cams and valves and all of that, but they are going after the intakes, the catalytic converters, test pipes, anything related to air going in and air coming out. But by eliminating the ability to repair those vehicles using such modifications, the right to repair is actually infringed, and thus we need our lawmakers to make amendments to the RPM Act so that we can actually maintain some of these older vehicles. Things like your grandfather's 57 Chevy Bel Air will now be made completely inoperable if anything on that breaks, because you won't possibly be able to buy those parts if the EPA has their way. As is, many people adopted electric cars because it's convenient for them. But forcing that issue on people like myself, who frankly doesn't have an electric socket outside to plug in that thing anywhere, means that I'm left in a position where I just can't get to work and thus have to rely on all kinds of government subsidies. It eliminates our freedom to choose how we want to live, and that's just not the American way. But getting back to the point, the reason why I feel like they have completely missed the mark when it comes to us is not just because we aren't really that pollutant, it's because in many cases, we're really not polluting at all. As controversial as that statement may have appeared to be, the truth of the matter is that many people who want to go fast in their car turbo them or put some form of forced induction. And we all know, if you're into cars, the number one fuel for that is ethanol. If you're not aware, ethanol is a corn-based alcohol that is added to gasoline as a way to help stabilize the fuel over time, but also kind of fill it in a little bit. You'll find a sticker on the pump everywhere that says ethanol added. It's very, very hard to find straight gas. If you're lucky in some places, you might find something known as E15, or as me and my friends call it, R88, which is regular gasoline with just a little bit more ethanol in it than normal. But again, if you're one of those turbo kids, you want to get your car set up on something known as E85, which is predominantly ethanol. The 85 meaning about 85% of it or more is ethanol. When this substance burns, it doesn't create harmful toxic gases. In fact, it creates water vapor. And when you burn a lot of that, well, instead of having all this nasty chemical smoggy substance in the air, you're gonna get clouds. And of course, with the EPA pushing to not be able to modify our cars in ways that they could run on ethanol, it means that they're eliminating something that actually could help the planet in actuality. As corn is something that we all can eat and utilize, even if we don't use it all for ethanol, it can be used to help feed animals, can be used to fertilize other forms of crop. And once it's burned, it's creating the water that we use to drink. The rivers and lakes are filled with it, and who knows, maybe we can even help solve some of these drought-stricken areas by just introducing the ability to drive on ethanol. I don't know. I'm not someone who studies this stuff. I just do a lot of research and go, hey, that's not a bad idea. At the end of it all, the fact remains is that the EPA wants to get rid of the internal combustion engine, even if they say they don't, and they've been caught many, many times in depositions basically saying that. And thus, because we won't be able to fix and repair our vehicles ourselves, thanks to the fact that they want to eliminate the ability to modify them to keep them running, means that this is probably going to be the last great generation of cars, unless companies like Porsche and Toyota can really step to the plate and help deliver on some of their promises of things like alternative fuels or heritage programs or any other sort of thing to help keep these lovely machines on the road. But I want to know what you think. I know I said some speculative stuff in this video, but hey, it makes for good conversation. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. And don't hold back, because I know some of us have some pretty pent-up feelings about the EPA, whether you're on one side of the aisle or the other, or not even in the building. Oh, and with the thing that's behind me, if you want to see what that looks like when it's finished, you should check out the next video, because we're building that. That's something that's been on the books for over 5 years, and we're finally, after all this time, able to put them back together and make them new once more. All that said, God bless you guys. Check out another video listed right here, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. There's a good boy. There's a good Merlin. Yeah.